Let's do 15 minutes of heat here because we're already about 20 minutes late on it. Give me a big open for 15 minutes of heat.
Ladies and gentlemen, stand up and make some noise for 15 minutes of heat.
15 minutes of heat presented by Broward Health. Broward Health celebrating 85 years of service to our community. Then, now, forever, Broward Health. You want to know the lines, or you want to hear an Ask Ira question, or would you like to fit in both?
Let's get both in.
All right. I like this this question because it's what we talked about yesterday about the Heat, and then we had Clay Ferrero on for 15 minutes of Heat, and we talked about this as well. Somebody writes into Ira Winderman at the Sun Sentinel, it might be time to blow this thing up. Mediocre at best. Now, that's the conversation we were having with Solana, right? Where we're like, he's like, no point in blowing it up, but I was saying you don't give away, like that. Like, to me, blowing it up is not even on the table. Yeah. It's finding, so this is what Ira says. The notion of blowing up means trading those perceived as the team's leading men. I don't see that happening with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero. And with all due respect to Kyle Lowry, any move beyond Butler, Adebayo, or Hero would still leave the Heat with the same core. And that's not necessarily a bad thing either, even taking into account Sunday's disaster in Charlotte. Subtle upgrades could still produce tangible change. For example, if you find an answer at power forward, that also allows Caleb Martin the opportunity to again energize the second unit. Win-win. And if you add a three-point shooter who actually makes three-pointers, then the rest of your two-point offense doesn't get quite as bogged down. So something even subtle with the contracts of Dwayne Dedmon or Duncan Robinson could still result in a net gain. You know what's amazing there? To read, if you can find a three-point shooter, when you've got Duncan Robinson and Max Strus on the bench, shows you how, ebbs and flows. Like, I mean, Duncan Robinson, we're being talked about as Steph Curry, and now we're saying, if they only had a three-point shooter, and I understand he's injured, but if they only had a three-point shooter that could actually hit three-pointers, and you're like, wait a second, I thought Max Strus was the next guy. I thought Duncan Robinson was that guy. It's pretty amazing. Anyway,
and they paid him all that money to be that guy. So it was to Pat and Spo's thought process. They had this team built to win until those guys don't perform.
Okay, let me just follow it up before you talk, Solana, then, with the next question to Ira Winderman at the Sun Sentinel, because it's about Pat Riley. Isn't the real reason the Miami Heat are struggling is bad personnel decisions by Pat Riley? Their roster has more undrafted players than any other team in the NBA. Draft picks have been traded away, and ridiculous contracts have been given to players who don't deserve them. Kyle Lowry? Really? And the Heat shouldn't expect undrafted talent to perform at consistently high levels. Yet, they are forced to rely on players like Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, Caleb Martin, and Gabe Vincent, who simply don't have the talent to be starters. You build a team through the draft, not by overpaying for aging free agent veterans.
That's true.
Kind of what you're saying there, because now you're saddled with some big contracts. But this is what Ira says, and it is a good point, and it's something that Heat fans need to remember. Fine, but your last 4 first-round picks have been Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Precious Achiuwa, and Nikola Jovic. The Heat certainly got it right with Bam and Tyler, and Precious lately has been playing well for the Raptors. Plus, Nikola has displayed the possibilities of growing into something special. Have there been missteps? Sure. The Kyle Lowry trade so far has paid about a half season's worth of dividends. But other than Duncan Robinson, it's not as if the presence or contracts of Max Strus, Caleb Martin, or Gabe Vincent have held the Heat back. In fact, those are the type of value contracts that teams covet. Again, the Heat were in the 2020 NBA Finals and within a game of last season's NBA Finals. That is still an impressive run, and with this season's story still yet to be fully told. That's the only thing. I kind of agree. And you said it, Pat Riley, and you get these contracts. Truth of the matter is, if you do look at it in totality, they were in the NBA Finals in 2020. They were a half a second away from going to the NBA Finals last season. And these undrafted free agents, while you go, okay, you're relying on them and you really shouldn't have to, the truth is they have been unbelievable finds. So you can kind of yin and yang both sides of what the way that they've approached, but it's hard to argue with the results. Eastern Conference Finals Game 7 and the NBA Finals in 2020.
Riley's success is his worst nightmare because we have the big three. They leave. We think, oh, here we go. We're going to be a normal basketball town. You go to the damn finals, and then you're one Jimmy Butler shot away from going again. Now we're sitting at 500, and there goes the season. Punt on the season. He's created a monster with these Heat fans.
Three in a span of 20 years, 3 appearances to the finals with 3 different cores. 3 championship contending teams with 3 different cores. And people want to question Pat Riley. I really think it's ridiculous. You can question specific moves. That's fine. Duncan Robinson's a good example, right? You paid him $18 million a year, whatever it is, to be Steph Curry, to be one of the premier three-point shooters in the NBA. And over the past 2 seasons, he hasn't been. That's fair. But the season that the Heat gave him that money, he was the best three-point shooter in the NBA outside of Steph Curry's. Like, you can't take away what he did. You can criticize the move now, but I think most people at the time were fine with it because of what Duncan showed us in 2020. I really think what Ira said there in the first response and what Clay said, I believe it was yesterday, it's a fair criticism and a fair point of view to have, which is the example Clay gave, where the Heat went and they didn't trade for another superstar. They added Jay Crowder, they added Andre Iguodala, and they added Solomon Hill, and that was enough to make them contenders. That was enough to really fill the holes, the gaps they needed to go and improve the roster. I think that's what the Heat should be doing right now. It's finding those puzzle pieces to fit in to help them get the three-point shooting that they're desperately lacking. They went from the best three-point shooting team last year to one of the worst this season. That's what they're missing. It's not another superstar that's unattainable with what you have on your roster right now at this very moment. And every Heat fan that is expecting, they've heightened their expectations to go land a whale before February 9th. They're just, it doesn't look possible.
You're deluding yourself because it's almost impossible with their assets.
I'm with you, Solana. We need Solomon Hill back.
I love the fact that we've had 2 Solomon Hill references 2 days in a row on this show.
Hello.
There's breaking NFL news, and obviously we will be following that. The Heat tonight, Solana will be on the air at 5:45 with preheat. The Heat are 4-point underdogs in Cleveland tonight. Donovan Mitchell over-under on points is 24.5 for Cleveland. Darius Garland is 21.5 for the Heat. Jimmy Butler over-under is 20.5. Bam Adebayo is at 20.5 as well. Tyler Hero is at 19.5. And 3-point field goals made for Tyler Hero is 2.5. So there you go. Some things to think about. We don't have to come up with any solutions just yet, but before 5:45, if we're going to have a little action, little sprinkle, figure it out before then.